Alrighty, morning everyone, and welcome back to another beautiful video on this beautiful channel on another beautiful day. In today's video we are going to talk about the watch market, the crashing watch market, the burning and obliterating and... No? Never heard of that? Yeah, me neither, honestly. So, alright, I mean, probably most of you that are somewhat interested in watches and somewhat interested in YouTube videos about them have heard about the crashing watch market. Now, what is that? What are people thinking? Why is the watch market crashing? Why is that a thing? Well, people are saying that the watch market is crashing at the moment because, well, I mean, most of you probably already realize pretty much everything is crashing right now. Stocks are crashing, real estate is crashing, crypto is crashing, but that wasn't a surprise. Everything is. Why is that the case? Well, because we don't get any more cheap money from the Fed. How unfortunate that is, right? Yeah, and that's pretty much the reason why everything is crashing, because if you can't borrow cheap money anymore, there's not a lot of money going into the economy, and as the economy is not doing fantastically well at the moment anyways, you know, money is kind of lacking in some places. That is not the reason why the watch market is crashing, though. The watch market is just crashing because some people just think that certain pieces aren't worth the money anymore that they paid for it, because take into consideration money has not left the market. There's still plenty coming in. So when something is crashing, like the watch market crashing, quote unquote, we're going to talk about that in just a moment, it is not because for some reason there are now way more watches in the market and they just aren't worth anything anymore, or no one's interested in them anymore. It's just that some people tend to be a little bit more cautious in times like that and not spend ridiculous amounts of money on watches that are, quite frankly, not worth anywhere near the amount of money they were trading for. So yeah, that's pretty much the short version of it, and now we're gonna go into it a little bit more detailed. So what is this crash anyways? So what we are basically experiencing at the moment is a slight drawback on some of the absolutely white-hot models that were trading at sometimes 10 times their retail price at the market at the moment. Models like the 5711, for example, models like the Rolex Daytona, well, that obviously doesn't trade as 10 times its retail value, but, you know, 5711s, certain models definitely do. Same thing with the Royal Oaks, not all of them do, but some of them do. Stuff like that, you know, stuff that was, quite frankly, not worth anywhere near the amount of money that people were willing to pay for it. And honestly, I still think it's nowhere near worth the amount of money that people are willing to pay for it now, even though the prices for these models have been pretty much free falling for the last couple of months. So chances are now is not the greatest time to buy one. It's a better time to buy one than a couple of months ago, but, you know, in something that is so free falling as these prices, I wouldn't recommend that. But why are people saying that the watch market is crashing when it's really only these few extremely hot models that are falling like rocks? Well, quite frankly, I have absolutely no clue. And see, in my opinion, the watch market isn't even crashing at all. Like, look at some other brands. Look at Tudor, for example. Nothing's crashing there. Look at Omega. Look at watches like these, which, you know, they have a decently high retail value, but a not so great resell value on the secondary market. Watches like these, they didn't go anywhere. They didn't drop $1 in the last couple of months. And even some of the very hot Omega models, like the Snoopy Award, the 2021 or 2020, whatever, Snoopy Award, that hasn't come down like at all. Like, it's still 32, 33 grand new. Like euros, probably like $35,000, something like that, whatever. They aren't coming down. So it's really just these completely I'm not saying that the Snoopy Award is not overhyped. I mean, it kind of is, but, you know, that's only triple its retail. At some Patek Philippe models, you know, as I said, we've seen more than 10 times its retail. So it's obvious that these are going to drop a little bit faster, or at all, in comparison to the watches that are only quote unquote worth or selling for more than 3 times. 3 times the amount of money that the original producer, being Omega in this case, wanted for it. And now some people are really saying, well, but these Patek Philippe Nautiluses, they are worth in excess of 200 grand for a watch that Patek Philippe says is worth 20 grand. And honestly, I beg to differ. Why? Because if these watches really were justifiably worth 200 grand plus, 250, 300 grand in some cases, don't you think that Patek would sell them for that amount of money? Patek Philippe is a company. Companies usually want to make the most money they can possibly make, whilst also ensuring that they are going to grow further in the future. So don't you think that if these watches actually were worth that amount of money, that they wouldn't sell for 1/10 of that, 1/15 of the amount of money that you can get for them on the secondary market? Honestly, I don't get it. I don't get how people can realistically go out there and say, that watch is worth 250 grand and not 25 like the manufacturer says. It's fine with me, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against it. If you've got the amount of money to pay for something like that, and if you've also got the amount of money to lose most of that, go ahead, you don't have to wait, obviously not. I mean, this whole situation only came to be because people didn't want to wait. We only had this situation because some people said, oh, well, I don't want to wait 6 months for my Nautilus, I'm just going to go to a secondary market, pay 5 grand more and get it right now. And now we're not at 6 months, now we're at 6 years, or even more than that. Some people can't even get them at all. Like, you know, if you haven't bought like 10 of them in the last couple of years, chances are you're not going to get them at all. And that's a shame, because essentially it's a $20,000 watch, or 25, whatever model you're looking at with the steel Nautilus, or whatever complication, maybe 35, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a steel Nautilus or a steel Aquanaut or whatever we're looking at. It's not worth 300 grand, and it's intended to be bought at 25, 30 grand. Maybe double that, okay, whatever. Then it's still like the greatest investment ever if you can buy something that doubles the next day. It doesn't exist, basically. But right now we are at 10 times that amount. And the only thing that creates is that people that could normally afford the watch, that love the watch, that really want it, that are serious collectors, get just outpriced by people that don't really care, that just don't want to wait. It's kind of sad, honestly. Don't get me wrong, I have absolutely nothing against someone that has the dough to buy a watch for like 250 grand instead of 25. Nothing against that. The only thing that I don't like is people just buying it because it's a Nautilus and they think they can flex on someone with that. Which is arguably the truth, but that's not really what these watches are for, is it? And now because of that, people that could normally afford this watch can never get it, like never in their lives get a watch like that. And that's the kind of part that sucks a little bit for me, and that I don't like about all of this stuff. And that's why I am honestly pretty happy that the prices are rocketing down right now, because we're slowly but surely getting into a price range that people that could normally afford a watch like that, or could maybe even afford like paying double or whatever, or could maybe just like wait 2 or 3 years. We're getting into a range again, possibly in the future, not right now, possibly in the future, that you can actually buy these again. I remember watching the London Watch Collector videos all the way back in the days when his channel just started, and he bought his first Patek Philippe, I think it was a 5712 or something like that. I don't remember, honestly. It was a steel Patek Philippe with like a moon phase and also the power reserve thing. I think you know the one. I'm gonna put it right there. But he just, like, I think it was his first Patek Philippe, and he just called around a bit and picked it up. Like, all the way, like, back then, this watch was already trading for like 10, 15,000 over retail, which is great. That's a great sum of money to be trading over retail. It makes it possible to wait for it and get it. It makes it a great investment. If you want to look at watches as an investment, you can do whatever you want, really. But that also creates the possibility for people that really want it to get it. Right now, that's not happening. It's just not possible. And brands, in my opinion, are also doing it the wrong way. Yes, of course, you have to treat your returning customers very well and give them the watches they want and stuff like that. But you can't just go ahead and say, yeah, well, someone else that has never bought a watch with us, you can't get that. I get it, it's also a problem with the grey market stuff and stuff like that. But come on now, as if people that would pay that amount of money in watches with you wouldn't sell some of them the next day. I mean, no one's stupid, okay? No one's gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be such a good boy today and not sell any of my watches whatsoever. Like, if Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and brands like that are really thinking that. I mean, they're kind of kidding themselves. If someone that buys a watch for 20 grand has even the slightest amount of financial problems, they're gonna sell it the next day and get like 250 for it. So, you know, there's really not a lot of difference. I would really recommend for them to do their homework, to really see what kind of people might be just selling them off to the grey market and what kind of people are actually true collectors. You know, it's not that hard to do that. If you really want to be selective about people that you sell your watches to, do that. Don't just do it on the amount of watches they buy from you. You have no problem selling your watches. Come on, don't be kidding yourselves. There's no issue with selling a Nautilus-owned Aquanaut. You can afford to look into the people that you're selling them to. So, I mean, would maybe be something for the future. So is the watch market crashing? No, for F's sake, it's not. It came down maybe like 5% in general, like over the whole market. Did you look at crypto? Did you look at the stock market? Did you see how much that stuff went down? This is not a crash, it's just a correction, whatever. And even if it's a crash, who cares? Who cares? It's not your business, it's not your job to collect watches. So if they come down a bit, whatever, they're gonna come up again. Like, really? Do you really want to go to sleep and not sleep well because you're worrying about your watch losing value? Guess what? Shouldn't have bought it. Why? Well, because once you wear it, it loses value way more quickly than you just putting it there and waiting for the watch market to do something. It doesn't make any sense. Watches are made to be worn, watches are made to be enjoyed. Yes, you know, yada, yada, yada. Everyone says that, but it's still true. So don't worry about that. Who cares if the market's crashing? Be happy that you can maybe pick up a Daytona again at some point at UAD. That wasn't possible the last couple of years, so be happy if it is. Right now it's not. So I would say, if anything, it's gonna be a positive thing. And if not, oh well, we still have our watches. What's gonna happen with them? They're not gonna change in color because of the watch market dropping. So I would say everything's good, chill out, and we'll see how it turns out.